And delighted to be joined right now by former police officer and founder of Fair Cop, Harry Miller, to talk about, well, all things policing. A good afternoon to you.
Oh, good afternoon, Julia. Sorry?
I was just going to say, where do we even start? Can we, there's so much to talk about. I want to start, first of all, with Notting Hill Carnival, because one of the questions we're asking people after Notting Hill Carnival, 330 arrests over the 3 days, 1 million people or so in attendance, 8 stabbings, 3 people in critical condition still, one including a woman who was caught apparently between a fight between 2 different gangs, and she was with her young child and she stabbed and in critical condition, 35 police officers injured, huge number of arrests for possession of weapons and the like. Just wondering, is it time to cancel or to move the event somewhere else? Is this a policing issue now?
Yeah, it's absolutely a policing issue. Police officers are terrified of going to this event for 2 reasons. One, because there is a increased likelihood of violence. And secondly, they have been instructed to operate a softly policy towards people on the streets. That's entirely wrong, and it's also dangerous. So the best thing that they can do is to keep the event, but move it somewhere like Hyde Park, where it can be contained, where the police are a lot safer, where the public is safer, and where if you don't want to attend, you don't want to run a risk of being getting caught up in some violence, then you can stay away. But it's no good having this sort of event on the streets when even the police are scared to be there. That's no good at all.
Well, exactly, and also local people having to board up their homes. A lot of people say, oh, well, don't buy a home in Notting Hill or rent a home in Notting Hill. Well, a lot of people have been there long before the carnival got this out of hand with this many people. And there are so many people. I was talking earlier about being caught up in crushes. I just go, that's it, I'm done. This is not being safely policed anymore. And I was thinking, any major event, like a footballing event, or people dying this slow to Hillsborough earlier, or a concert, if this level of crowding was allowed at these events, those events would be closed down. There'd be a public inquiry. But it happens every single year here. And instead, the police hand out notices basically saying, if you get caught in a crush, this is what you should do. You just think, there shouldn't be a crush. You're supposed to be there to stop this stuff happening.
Yeah, exactly. Well, once again, we're pandering to a particular community. Now, can you imagine a situation where these people were singing Sweet Caroline and were waving Union flags around? They would not allow this to happen. It would immediately be seen as a Section 14 issue. They would close it down because police officers would express the view that they had real and reasonable concerns that this was likely to lead to violence, and they would shut it down. It's as simple as that. This is an example of 2-tier policing.
It is. I mean, it is, isn't it? You cannot look at this and think that if this was not Afro-Caribbean communities, fundamentally this carnival is about celebrating Caribbean culture. You cannot believe that any other culture, well, any white culture, would be allowed to have this event on this scale with this much violence routinely every year, and it would be allowed to just carry on as normal.
That's absolutely right. The problem is the police force is still suffering from a form of collective guilt following the McPherson report. Now, come on, that's 25 years ago. It's time to get...
That's the institutional racism, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, that generation of police officers have all either died or left now. It's time to get over it. The Equality Act has been in place since 2010. They've had 14 years to get used to that. All we need is a police force which operates without fear, which operates without favour. Now, that's not going to happen when we have police officers being taught by woke organisation that whiteness is racist, that whiteness is wrong. And goodness knows what...
I'm going to say, by the way, that is what they are taught. The critical race theory is literally, you are a perpetrator of, of discrimination by definition if you are white, and you're a victim by definition if you're white. That is literally the basis of critical race theory, which is what is being taught in the policing college, even though they were told not to teach that by the government. But apparently we've got no control over what our police are taught anymore.
That's exactly right. There's been a complete inversion of the situation in the 1990s, where if you were black, you were viewed as a problem, and if you were white, you were seen as a victim. That has entirely been inverted. We don't want an inversion of McPherson. What we want is a level playing field where people are treated equally and where skin colour is the least important aspect of a person's being. What's important is whether a person is law-abiding. What's important is whether a person can go out onto the streets and behave in an acceptable way that doesn't put other people in danger. Unfortunately, that is not the police service that we have. And as I listened to Keir Starmer's speech this morning, I just don't think it's going to get any better.
No.
Keir Starmer has a very clear idea of what is good and what is evil. And it worries me that he seems to think that he seems to categorize anybody who is right of him as being a far-right, mindless thug, and anybody who shares the platform with him as being pure. He actually used the word pure in his speech this morning. We cannot have a police force that sees the world like that. Yeah. And we shouldn't have a prime minister that sees the world like that. Now, the big problem we have with Keir Starmer is this. Having got over the fact that, having told everybody that he's the son of a toolmaker, he's now reminding everybody, yeah, absolutely. He's now reminding everybody that he was the former director of public prosecutions. And more than that, he told us how much he loved putting people in jail for as long as possible. He said that this was his instinct to do that. He sees the world in black and white. He sees the world in terms of the criminals and the pure. And this is not healthy for a society.
No, exactly. And it's who's criminalised as well. It's, again, people writing tweets which, I just don't think are criminal. I mean, again, if you're inciting, riots and things. But again, even so, some people, you think someone writes one stupid Facebook post during the post-Southport attack and getting 2 years behind bars, when, as we've discovered, amazing stats today, more than 147,000 people in the year to March this year. Now, that's, of course, all under the Conservative government, must stress that. They've been accused of offences including sex crimes, assaults, violence, possession of deadly weapons like knives, being given community resolutions instead of being prosecuted. That means they don't get a criminal record. All they've got to do is basically accept responsibility. Yes, I did that, and say sorry, perhaps, offer recompense or something, but they're not facing any criminal prosecution. How on earth can someone who puts, misgenders someone, i.e. correctly genders someone on Twitter, or somebody who writes something on Facebook, how can they face 2 years behind bars, but someone who possesses a deadly weapon or commits a sexual assault or violence just says sorry and then nothing happens? How can that be happening?
It can happen because it is a political choice. It's as simple as that. What Keir Starmer and his cronies want to do is generate a chilling effect across all those of us who express a belief which is perfectly rational, but which he himself does not subscribe to. Yeah. And it's to that end that he's going to be making room in prisons. It's for the likes of you and for the likes of myself. We are the far-right thugs.
Bagsy the top bunk?
Yeah, exactly. We are the far right. He talks about populist. He talks about far right populist. Now, what's so wrong about the word populist? As far as I know, populist is being popular. The problem is we have a Labour Prime Minister who hates the working class. He hates the lower class. He would love to bring back the term the lumpen proletariat so he can send them all off to the gulag. It's as simple as that. I
think he's scared of the working class. I think he's just one of those sort of like little, again, he's a middle class lad. He's as middle class as I am, who just sort of actually makes them all a bit uncomfortable, and they're just not his people. And again, the Labour Party doesn't represent the working class anymore, that's for sure. But what do you make of this? I mean, the shoplifting. Police officers have almost entirely ceased punishing shoplifters. If you steal less than £100, look, this is tell us something we don't know, but these are official stats. In the year to March this year, this is incredible. I mean, hundreds of thousands of shoplifting offences every year. Just 431 shoplifters got fixed penalty notices. That's by the lowest penalty you can get as a very small fine for stealing goods under the value of £100. It's a massive fall in the number that used to get those fines. But I mean, often round my way, shopkeepers all say they have to just close and lock the doors themselves and just let in people they think aren't going to be shoplifters. I'll go, you're closed. They go, no, you can come in, and they lock the door again because the shoplifting hours have got so out of control. Police don't turn up even when they know the name of the person shoplifting them, for goodness sake. If they stop someone, they're accused of assault. The person is immediately let go. There are no arrests. There's no prosecution. If they are prosecuted, they don't actually go to jail or anything like that. We have, to all intents and purposes, said, not only, some sex crimes and violent offences are illegal, but stealing's legal.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately and shamefully, this came in under Theresa May's, when she was the Home Secretary. £100.
She was as bad at that as she was at being Prime Minister, it transpired.
Exactly. £100 is an awful lot of money if you are a small shop owner.
And when it's happening 10 times a day.
Yeah, it might equal your entire net profit for the day. So by doing that, what you're doing is waging war on small businesses. Why? Because you're actually a friend of big business. You would rather drive these people off the high street, make them close their businesses down, so the big business, the likes of Amazon, etc.,
they do just fine. They don't have to deal with it.